33 degrees, now this is where I was talking about the flat earth. So the UN badge, it's the 33, it's showing you the 33. So this is no different to some symbols and everything else with the 32 rays with the one in the middle. Normally it's produced with the IHS in the middle, which is the symbol for Jesus. So Jesus is that 33rd, but that's because you reach enlightenment. Once you get past the 33rd, you're reaching that enlightenment. But what they're showing with this, it's because this is why I find it really odd. When we have flat earth, people are sharing this picture, they're sharing a picture of the globe. That's exactly what they're sharing. So they're sharing the same from what I said with Giza and the Sri Ansha chakra, where you've got to look at a bird's eye view. That's what it is, it's a bird's eye view of the globe. That's what they've done, that's what this is. So so when you see the people who followed the flat earth who've sharing this, that's what they're sharing. They haven't really understood what they're sharing around. But the 33 days equals 792 hours, and that's the 792 diameter of the Earth. So then this is again we have the same symbols. So you'll notice with the Jesuit sun symbol, so we've got 16 straight lines and 16 jagged. So that's what they're given, 32 with the IHS in the middle, and this is the Sol de Mayo, or the Sun of May, used by Argentina on their flag. So again, it's the 16 straight lines, 16 curved lines. This is given as a light coding. So that light coding that I've done before with the 111 number, this is what that's given us. So 16 times 16 equals 256. The RGB hex code consists of 256 red, 256 blue, 256 green. That's what it consists of. So that's what they're showing us, the light, the light is the solfeggio, basically, the sun. Obviously the Egyptians knew all this because it's all rays, isn't it? Ra, the sun god, is the ray of light. So this is another one to look for, is Ra. When you look for Ra in the words, you have it with like aura. So your aura is your AU of gold, and Ra, that's your aura or aurora, and so on and so forth. Look for them words because that's how things have been created. So what they're showing as well, this is something that took place at Giza, very important, stereographic projection. So people like to say that the Earth's flat, but what the Bush barrow lozenge was being used for was exactly this here. Our ancestors were trying to get the shape, they were trying to get all the coordinates, and they were laying out Earth's grid. So what they wanted to do was project. They had to make a projection. So it would sound like totally out there, other than the fact that Da Vinci done it. So what they've done is create the first holograms through light. That's what they're doing. So now we're messing about with holograms now. They've done it long before us, long before. And now if you go to the World of Illusions in Edinburgh, you'll notice with Da Vinci's work in there, what they've done is there's a little box in there and it's got a light. So it looks like a little thing of sweets. And Marley went to grab one, except it doesn't exist. It's an illusion. So it's an illusion of the light. So this is what they're doing, making holograms. So they've done all this all the way back then. For them to actually get the shape of the Earth and be able to work out Earth's grid, they would have had to add an exact replica of some form. And this is how they've done the Glastonbury Zodiac. This is why they've got the Dendera sat on top of that in the Dendera temple in Egypt and things. So they're creating this holographic projection. It's a stereographic projection. And this in turn creates all this geometry and everything else that we see. Because it's Earth's grid, they're trying to lay out Earth's grid, they're trying to work out. So this is why we've got Rosslyn Chapel at very specific coordinates. Rosslyn Chapel is at 555 coordinates, the heart. Again, it's the same as I said before, it's the colour green. So it's all to do with that heart chakra and the heart energy, or the electromagnetism. So stereographic projection is, well, it's it's what they were doing. They actually do think that the Egyptians were doing it, they were having some form of it. So they've been using holographic technology all the way back then, which is pretty mind-blowing. And this is what they do. So this is the stereographic projection of the octahedron. So Giza has 8 sides, same as the octahedron. That's why it's octagon in shape. Where you'll go into most churches and things, you'll always find octagon shapes coming to form. It is what it is, especially in Switzerland with the temples and things. A lot of their structures are always octagon in shape. And it's because of Giza, it's because of the crystal. So the crystal itself, again, is coming from this octahedron, and this is the stereographic projection of it, which is of course Triskelion, Quetzal and everything else. And you can see the evidence of it, but this is what it is, it's light coding, so it's RGB. So they come together when you have them in equal amounts, in an equal percentage, they create white or grey light. So this is why St. Clair's or the Sancto Clair or the Holy Light is because they've had this, they've known it, they've had the coding. I'm sure if I've got it, they know it, so I'm pretty sure that. So that's what it is. It's all to do with this RGB coding of light. So the 51.84 degree angle of inclination at Giza, that's the angle needed to perceive a double rainbow of light. So this is, again, this is where they've been working on it. They've got all these answers from nature itself. Of course, a rainbow isn't just an arc, it is a full circle, it's a 360 circle. We just happen to see the arc of it. So then, the New Jerusalem, like I've said before, people like to go on with Edinburgh, saying it's Jerusalem for whatever reason. It's coded in the Bible. It's not coded in the Bible. What's coded in the Bible is earth. So they're giving us a new earth being formed. So when a new age dawns in, a new earth is formed with it. So when they're saying about the 12,000 furlong, it equals the 660 feet, the same as the 606 of the Lodge, Rosslyn. So times the 12,000 of the furlong equals 792, which is Earth's diameter. So in the Bible, they coded all this numerology there. It's actually there. In Revelation 2:16, which just happens to be the cube number, 6 times 6 times 6 equals 216. So it's all coded in there, it's how they've been doing it, it's how it works. So this is what I mentioned earlier with the Muqab in Saudi Arabia being built. So this is going to be the new focal point. So I'm presuming there's a new grid, we're getting into that new age and there's new alignments coming in. So possibly the Kaaba isn't in effect anymore. Maybe it's not as effective as it should be. Now we've got a big Kaaba, and now we've got a big Kaaba coming into play. So of course, as I said before, with the Kaaba, so you've got it in there, the car and bar. The Egyptians had this as well, the spirit and the soul and everything else. This is all what it's a part of, and it's all there inside that cube. It's all Metatron's cube taking form from the spirit to matter. So this is just showing you how the Platonic solids come together to create the earth measure. And as I said, this is all geometry and gematria and all geometric design. So it's all coming together to form the earth. So the degrees and angles, this is what part of the craft and Freemasonry deals with, is all that degrees and angles. I'm pretty sure that they know a lot more than I do on this kind of stuff. But this is the basic of it. These are the building blocks, and these are the basic building blocks that give us everything in this material construct. So we've got our water, our fire, our earth and everything else. So hexahedron is earth, the octahedron is air, tetrahedron is fire, and then we've got water, the icosahedron. So that's literally what we're made of, and it's all the creator's code. It's all part of the code of creation that's being given to us to understand. So when I said to you about Jesus being earth measure, this is where it is. So Jesus is the earth measure. So this is why it's all coded in Mona as well. Mona has Christ coded in it. This is why the 5280 miles, when we get that coming together, we get the Christos number, and the same with Earth's landmass. Again, the 148 number appears, but then the Earth mass is where you get the real answer. It's so obvious with it for me, the 31668. It's all based on Earth measure. So that's part of the creation coming together. So this is what I was talking about before with Vega and Polaris. So this is moving towards Da Vinci's coding on another one of his paintings that has done it perfectly. So this is, a lot of people have worked on this already, and it's to do with St. John the Baptist. So it's our axial tilt of the earth. So of course at one time it would have been Thuban, but the next time we're going to go over to Vega, that's when our next pole shift comes. I mean, nobody actually knows what's going to happen, whether it could be a violent event or anything else. It could happen so gradually that we'd never noticed, and all of a sudden Vega's aligned kind of thing. But we had the Georgia Guidestone, which was also perfectly aligned to Polaris, and as we know, that was brought down last year, the Georgia Guidestone. Again, it was just more pillars falling, basically. But that was all aligned anyway for the processional arc and the axis and everything else. So Da Vinci's coded all this in St. John the Baptist, so some people might have seen this already. It is available online, people have done this research already. So the angles of the St. John the Baptist painting is what he's doing. The way he's pointing and the way he's got his head tilted, he's tilted them to the exact angles. That's how clever Da Vinci's been. So he's trying to show the angles of the actual tilt. So so these are the degrees for it and everything else. So this is St. John's painting. He's got the 69 centimetres in there. But what they're doing is the 23.4 degrees, that leaves us 66.6 degrees left over. Now that is the north and south poles, and as I've said with the pillars, it's north and south, it's the hemispheres, north and south hemisphere, it's all the same. So Da Vinci's coded these in the painting. Now the 69 and the 69 will always appear in Da Vinci's work. For instance, Mona Lisa's born the 166th day of the year, 199 days remaining, and then her death date is the 196th day of 169 days remaining. He's showing this exact thing. Same with the 96 petals at Rosslyn, same here with the 69, showing that coding. So of course, with this, it's the topsy-turvy, isn't it? It's earth, so it's from the north to south. It's switching, so it's, again, it's just all the light to dark, male and female, it's all the same story. So yeah, so these are the alignments that take place at Florence, I think it was, Florence Cathedral. So what he's done, what he's showing, is the 315 of these are the Vesca, but if you noticed, it's all at 69 degrees. So the entire sunrise over at Florence Cathedral, where Mona's from, where Da Vinci's from, is at 69 degrees. So St. John is the patron saint of Florence. It's 24th of June is St. John's Day. So this is why it's all based on astronomy and astrology. It's all astrotheology based kind of thing. So that's the 69 degree alignment perfectly. So these type of alignments are all in that book, but in particular, so are Rosslyn's alignments are all in that book. So I've managed to figure Rosslyn's alignments out by getting deeper into this kind of research. So the 69 degree coordinates are definitely not a coincidence. It's what St. John is all about. So this is Florence Cathedral. This is the layout of Florence Cathedral, which is amazing, very, very spectacular. So this one is in Florence Cathedral. This is how our cities are laid out. It just happens to be exactly the same as Florence Cathedral. It's, so of course, this is also exactly the same as CERN. That's what they're doing at CERN laboratories. If you look at CERN, it's the exact same thing. And it's because they're messing with the particles. So as I said before, with the labrum symbol, that labrum symbol is going to be under that church. It's going to be a resonator. So it's all to do with the Schumann resonance and everything else. And it's creating these geometric patterns. These are what it's flowing out from, these rose patterns and everything else that we're being given. So what you've got, what Michael left for you is the cube, the cubes here that he's given you. The reason is just because all churches that are laid out in this cruciform structure, they're all folded up into cubes. It's exactly what they've been done for. So it's the same thing. So when Michael's giving you that cube, he's giving you the keys to open up its construct. He's giving you the key to open up these buildings that are all done like this. So Michael said about the cube before with the 9 by 9 by 9 is 729. Liverpool Cathedral has a big square, similar to this, except it's black and white squares. 729 squares on the floor of that cathedral, and it's right underneath the bell tower. So of course bells and everything else are letting off them frequencies, the harmonics. So that's why they've done it. That's why they've done it there. It's for that cube. Well aware of it. People like Blybon were well aware of it. These are well aware of it. So the majority of them you would expect them to fold up into a cube, except for what we've got there. There's more like a rose cross symbol in Florence, which is very important. So all these rose patterns and everything else, they're all the geometric designs, and they will all hold their own frequencies. So one day when I can go over there, I'll be over to Florence and try and decode these floors. I actually started to understand the somatic patterns and these rose petals and everything else is when I was working in Wells Cathedral. It was because I found the Great Pyramid coded on the floor of Wells Cathedral. So when I started to look at it, it's got 144 somatic patterns on each side. It's 288 patterns in Wells Cathedral, creating a pyramid. So when you look at it then, you have to move all the chairs and everything off the floor to actually get a little look at it. So it points up to the compass rose. You've got the pyramid, so it's pointing up to the compass rose inside Wells Cathedral. It's the 8-pointed star of Giza, it is that compass rose. So yeah, so these places, they're all built perfect designs, and like I said, this is how the planet's laid out as well, as a grid, as a network. So it's a little bit you can understand what we're moving on. But when you're talking about energy, things like motion and momentum and things like that, or roads, very important. So you think about what kind of energy is travelling down and highways and everything else, or motorways and things. And so we get into the Mona's code in a little bit. She's the most important thing, as I said, with Mona is the fact that she's from Florence, and it is Flora. So that was something that really, really meant something to Leonardo da Vinci. His entire work is based on nature, it's creation in nature. Everything that he's learned has come from nature. So with Mona, this is what we've got. So we've got a 77 times 53 dimensions. Florence Cathedral just happens to be 3757 feet, exact Mona's coding. So when I found that, I was over the moon. And then of course we've got the Pentagon then 77 feet, 3.5 inches. When they shut the world down in 2020, when I was arrested at age 33, the world's population was Mona Lisa's exact dimensions. Exactly 7.753 billion people when they shut the world down. And Da Vinci's Code had started to take form and started to play out. And that's what I started to tap into. So of course then we've got the Pentagon as well. So the Pentagon, some of you might know, was hit during 9/11. It was hit by Flight 77 at a 77-foot building. It was 77 minutes after takeoff on the 77th degree meridian. It's a lot of 77s. So another number that has appeared, I forgot to mention it before, is the 235. This is the metonic cycle of the moon, of Mona the moon. So part of Mona's coding is about the moon cycles and that as well. But it's, as I said, it's about the construct as a whole. So what I originally started thinking Mona's coding was just the moon, and I didn't actually understand it until I started to really dig in. And I was like, wow, he's going somewhere else completely different. And then I noticed she was that sacred feminine. So yeah, so it's all coded there anyway. It's at Florence Cathedral, exact dimensions of Mona Lisa's painting. And then of course we've got the 153 length of Florence Cathedral as well. The 153 is of the Vesica. Mona Lisa was created in 1503. And what Da Vinci's done is, if you look along the top of Mona Lisa's dress, he's got the Vesica geometry all along the top of the dress. He's showing these little clues are in there to exactly what it is. So that 153, Florence Cathedral, is Mona Lisa's coding as a whole. It is literally Mona is coded in that cathedral. Except for that cathedral wasn't even there in Da Vinci's time. So this is why I refuse to say Da Vinci's Code, by the way. This is why I won't use it. It's because it is the creator's code. It's not doing Da Vinci any justice by calling it Da Vinci's Code. I don't think he would have wanted it to be called that. It's because it's something bigger and it's something that he respected deeply as a creator's code. So it's all coded there. So the Mona Lisa, it is Christos, it's Christ. So this is the crystal, or the crystalline form, as Lynn was mentioning before with the sound frequencies. That's why we resonate with them so much. It's because of what we're made out of. It's our crystal structures. Like a big part of our makeup is phosphorus. So this is where Lucifer, the light and things, our bone structure has a lot of phosphorus in. So here's the cube that Michael's give you. So they fold up into the cube, and this is why churches are laid out in that exact structure. So this is a good example of it, of course. But you've got the second dimension, third dimension, fourth dimension. So this is what the plane with is dimensions, is different realities. Is what is this reality that we're in? Is it just some construct that we've got to go through to get to somewhere else or anything? But so it's the metaphysical cube, and somebody showing it perfectly was Dali, the Dali Tesseract. Dali was brave enough to put Jesus on a set of hypercubes. Not only that, but he used the exact same colours as the Kaaba, and he was showing us, and he's brave for doing it, because in his time, at that time in the early 1900s, it wouldn't have been so acceptable for him to do that. So whether his work would have got that far or not is another thing altogether. So this is just a little bit about Florence Cathedral and how it all plays out, and it's got so the Lebanon blast, for example, it took place 44 months and 4 days before the Great American Eclipse. And as you know, I go to the Isle of Man 4:44 AM sunrise. Florence is the 44th commune out of Tuscany. My great-grandma Florence Gavine died at age 44. So all these patterns that I started to really notice anyway, I started to break them open. So you would maybe notice before with one of the paintings, I think it's the Vitruvian Man equals 129.6, the dimensions. It's the same year the Florence Cathedral was built. So Da Vinci's using all the same coding. What he seems to have done is coded Mona Lisa the same as Florence Cathedral. So it's pretty important what he's done. And of course we've got the Lebanon blast also took place on 33-degree coordinates as well. All perfectly done. But it has to be, it's the construct, it's the design, it's the architecture of it. It has to play out in geometric form, otherwise it wouldn't make sense anyway. So here's the information on Florence Cathedral, where it's got the harmonics and things coded in it as well. So these, as Michael said before, with the 444, it's the metaphysical cube, that cornerstone, the foundation block, and we carve it all there. And the 444 is exactly what they're building with the cube, and the cube equaling 64 in English ordinal. So you might remember one of the TV programs, if anybody who actually watches TV in this room, I'm not sure many of you will, but one of the programs was the cube with that glorious Philip Schofield guy whose career's just gone down the pan. So that was the cube, and they put it all in your face, obviously.
Jimmy,
yeah?
can I ask a question? Like, see that last slide you had a minute ago?
Go back.
Yeah, the name Metatron is Meta. That's what they call Facebook.
Yeah, Meta. So, yeah, Meta, exactly, yeah. That's what they've done with Facebook. It's exactly what they've done it for. So what it is with the Metatron, probably should have broke that open a bit better for you, sorry. It's the subatomic particle. So the tron part is, that's what it means subatomic particle. So that's what Metatron is. It's the metaphysical.
Twitter, yes.
Yeah, it's Christ, isn't it? It's the actual Christ, isn't it? So it's what they used to do. So it forms the St. Andrew's cross as well, doesn't it? So they're doing all this now and playing it out. You just done it with Sinead O'Connor, didn't you? Yeah, with the cobra and the lion. She's wearing a blue dress with her arms crossed that creates the St. Andrew's cross. That's what they're doing. So it's Christ, and it's because they were linked in with the Egyptians. So it's the cross of Osiris, isn't it? Is what it is. But yeah, so it's the Tron. So you've got Tron Church as well down in Edinburgh. You've got Tron Church there. So of course, it all in relation to these particles and subatomic matter and everything else, atoms, and that's how it's all working in that way. So yeah, that's the metaphysical anyway, linear, that's how it is, and that's exactly why Facebook done it, is because it was the meta, so that's the tool now where they're shaping reality, aren't they? So you can see on Facebook how many people are just all fighting each other and arguing, and everything's evil and everything's miserable and nasty, and let's leave it all behind and just keep going forward and just seek knowledge and find a way. So yeah, so you've got Tron Church down in Edinburgh as well. I visited there, to have a little look. So this is one of the astronomers, Toscanelli. What he'd done is he pierced a hole in the roof of Florence Cathedral, and this is so he could get the alignment. So they could get it 35 days either side of the solstice period of John's days. And it's because either side of that, you get the 66-degree coordinates coming in with the sun, and it's in perfect alignment over how it aligns with the 69-degree coordinates, which is of course the same coordinates as the north and south pole, which is our axis, the axis going through the earth, the axis of energy. So that's what they're getting at anyway with it. That's why he's done it. He put this hole in the ceiling so they could view it and so they could get these alignments. So what does take place is the 13 p.m. at 69 degrees. That's the first day of sunrise. So it's your your Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and everything else. Yeah. So the 1313 as well. It's coded down at Rosslyn Chapel, directly on Mona Lisa's birthday as well. I'll leave it for the book, I'll read it in the book because it's a good one. So the construction starts in 1296, as I said. This comes from Da Vinci's coding on the Vitruvian Man. So again, with the Vitruvian Man, what he did use is the 153, the 135. Always look for those permutations if you're going to look into the numerology. These numbers all come in permutations, so you'll find the 481, you'll find 148, 841 and so forth. Now, when I said I visit the Isle of Man at 4:44 a.m. for them summer solstice sunrise, I also go to Glastonbury Tour, and that has 11 days of sunrise at 8:14 a.m. for the winter solstice. So that's where I spend my days. So it's all around this coding kind of thing is what we do. So this is what Darley was showing us, the tesseract, the cube, the old tesseract that's formed from Darley's hypercubus, corpus hypercubus. And they're giving us this metaphysical, it is Metatron's cube. It's what's shaping the reality. But what it takes us to is what's known as the hepteract hypercube. Now the hepteract, obviously it looks really complicated to even wrap your head around it. But it's a 7 cube basically, so when Michael was talking about the numbers going up from 1 to 9, these cubes do the same, they go up in those orders. So this is the 7 cube. But it's got something really important regarding these numbers, and it's because it's all coded within these geometrical forms. So I know that it shapes my construct because my arrest came on the 22nd of the 3rd, and I'm born on the 28th of the 8th. Now I was arrested. I'm from Liverpool, obviously. So my arrest date on the 22nd of March is the day that Liverpool was founded in 1207, and my birthday on 28th of August is the day that Liverpool was founded by King John. So these are numbers that play a part in my life path, and they kind of shape my path. So the penta of the elements, the 84 pentaracts, that's Mona's code, and that's what part of Mona's code, and Mona Lisa equals 84. So this is why you've got like the Notre Dame fire starting at 48 degree coordinates. That 48 and 84 is transferable and it's part of Mona's coding. So what Da Vinci was working towards this with his divine proportions. When he was working on that, he was working towards those structures. That's what they were putting together. They were putting all these geometric structures into play and seeing what they could find through it, basically, and seeing what they could. Because what they're trying to find is creation. They're trying to find the God. They're trying to find the Godhead, the source of it. That's what they want. They want to go back to source and try and get an understanding of this construct, basically. So then it also has its counterparts. You have the demi-heptaract, and the demi-heptaract is what it says. It's the demi one. It's the opposite from it. This is an important one with this. It's because the height of it gives us the exact numbers when the Grand Lodge in London was founded in 1717. So this 117 number really forms this construct. So these numbers, of course, I do speak about in my book, and I do break it open a bit better. So so you can take your own time trying to study it and understand it. But as you can see, there's numbers there that appear, like the 54 of Michael's cube, or the 311. These numbers play big roles in the construct. But the 1344 up there in particular is one of the numbers that Da Vinci's coded in the Last Supper. It gives us pi as well. That is coded at Avebury. One of the dimensions for Avebury for the main circles come out at the 1344 digits. So they're giving us the heptaract hypercube is what they're showing. They're showing this code in creation. So when you look at these stone circles and everything else on a cellular level, this is what they're breaking it down to. They're breaking it into these constructs of the cube. To what literally created it, basically. And again, we have the 112. So this is also coded in the Vesica. The Vesica is a ratio of 265 height and 153 width. Take 153 from the 265, you get 112. Well, Mona's coding is 77 plus the 35 equals 112, and it's because of that fractal expansion, as I said. So this is used then for the hexagonal tomb of Christian Rosenkrantz. It's the Godhead. So what they've got is they've got all the coding on the walls in this picture here, and they're showing you all the light coding. It's the heptaract coding. It's the hexagonal tomb. So it is. That's what they're working with. They're working with the heptagram and all these sigils and things like that, and they're getting the answers from them. So of course we have the 7 days of the week, the seven lights and everything else. The number 7 plays its role, G7, etc., etc. Actually, the last G7 conference was held. Was it St Ives was last year, the year before? That was where 777 saints sailed to Ireland. That was when the G7 was held there. So do it all with perfect positioning. But it's a part of that construct, though. It's a part of the creation. It's an architecture. It's the geometry at work, creating this life path for you. So Christian Rosenkrantz, as I said earlier on, they backdate the foundation of the Rosicrucian order to 1313. The Master Mason number, which breaks down to that 44 of the cube. So it was the Sanctus Spiritus. So we've got the Sanctum Clair, of course, the Holy Light. This is the Holy Spirit. So yeah, this is something that's really important in my research, but I can't really give you the detail on the heptaract and just confuse it, and you'll just be bamboozled by it anyway. So I've left it in the book for anybody who wants it. So of course the roses, as I said before, it's kind of creating the rose cross at Florence is exactly what it was. But what that cross is showing is the orbital resonance. It's the Venus rose. It's the orbital resonance that plays through. So it's not just Venus that creates them geometric shapes. All of the planets do. They're all giving us some sort of shape, one and another. But as well as that, then all the planets, they all have the moons as well. Obviously, Saturn has a load of moons. Jupiter has a load of moons. So these moons are all in orbital resonance with one another as well. So we've literally got like a string of harmonics playing out in the universe constantly, just emanating these tones and frequencies, and it's just creating everything. It's all going round in cycles and spirals, and as I said, what goes around comes round, and it goes on to create this dance of Venus, this Rose of Venus, which is a huge part of the chapel's coding down there. And then this, I'll just end on this one, is the Botticelli Birth of Venus. Now, when I said that 2020, I've said that they've known something was coming. This is, in my eyes, is one of the main reasons why it was Sandro Botticelli's Birth of Venus. So, when 2020 come in and Venus is aligned, it was the last time it created the rose, was in 2020 when we were shut down. Venus had just created that rose. So what's coming in now is we're getting all these blasts of the coronal mass ejections and everything else all flowing through, and it's starting to lift the energy, and the female energy is rising. So of course it's been a patriarchal society, it's been male dominant. So what happens when the female energy now starts to rise? We're getting back to the equilibrium, which means we're getting back to Christ, we're getting back to the Godhead, we're getting back to understanding all this information of what it's all meant to be, what it all means. And it's because that female energy is now back again. And it's Venus, it is what it is, it's the female. So Sandro Botticelli, what he's done with the dimensions and things, he's again using the same as Da Vinci did, but he's also got the creation year of the 1484. They were all doing the same thing, they were all using these same types of coding to show it in their paintings and try and depict this universal code of the creator kind of thing. Sandro Botticelli is one of the more famous ones at that period of the time. So when he's showing this Birth of Venus now, the female energy is now coming back to fruition, which is why I thought with my Mother's Day arrest at that time, it was just so prominent in my journey. And everything to me was shield my daughter. That's all I could think at that moment in time, was to protect her. We were being attacked, one way or another we were being attacked. So I had to protect my daughter. So in 2020, when all this energy started coming back through, this is of course igniting the ley lines in Earth. It's not just our meridian lines. Earth has these meridian lines, she's becoming ignited, she's becoming enlightened again, she's back, she's rising. So this is where the mother Mona, is starting to take form, and for whatever reason, I've been given this coding to bring in and share with you today. So that is the first rose of Mona Lisa's coding, and thank you very much for coming tonight and listening to me talk for too long. I'm sorry. But yeah, so this is how Da Vinci's coding is working. It's the creator's code. It's what he's trying to give us. So the first rose, that coding is in that book for anybody who wants a copy or have got a copy, all that's in there. So I've tried to put as much information in that book that wasn't in this presentation, so you can take the information you've got and you can add it to that and you can really dig in. So yeah, thank you very much. And